Huge season-defining game for Michigan this week as they travel to Los Angeles to face USC. Let's dig into the game as we preview Michigan versus the Trojans on this episode of Locked On Wolverines.
You are Locked On Wolverines, your daily podcast on the Michigan Wolverines, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Friday. We are back and doing it. Locked On Wolverines podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. I'm your man on the ground, Isaiah Hole, publisher of Wolverines Wire through USA Today Sports Media Group. Thank you for all of you who are everydayers. We do appreciate you very much. And thank you for making us your first listen. We're just going to dig right into Michigan versus USC. Segment one, what the game to me is all about, what needs to happen, I guess. I don't know how to really phrase it. Segment two, let me backtrack. Keys to the game, then kind of what Michigan needs to do, and then final prediction. That's the plan for today. And for all of you who are watching, thank you as we continue to revamp the studio. We're changing things around here. It'll go through some permutations. That's the plan as we try to make everything look even cooler and better. Anyway, this is a huge game for Michigan, obviously, as for USC, both 4-1. Whoever wins, I don't want to say whoever wins has an inside track to the college football playoff, because for USC, that might not be true. They've already got the one loss. They play USC next week. They still got to play Oregon. If they win this, they can still lose two more and not be there. For Michigan, maybe it's a little bit the same because they got Washington next week. But I think that could be a challenging game. But I feel a lot better about facing Washington than I do USC at the moment. And the rivalry game against Michigan State, right? Like Maryland looks a heck of a lot better. Even so, I'm not as fearful about Maryland. Sorry, Allie Gearing and the Terps. But I think that there's still, like, for Michigan, if they win this game, it's almost they're basically punching their ticket to some degree. Because you can lose to Ohio State, which we're not predicting that, but they can lose to Ohio State and still be in a good spot if should they win this game. But if they lose this game, then they got to be perfect. In some ways, you almost want Michigan to be in that spot, but they've already kind of went through that with Oklahoma. So you don't want them to be in a spot like last year where they're 4-2. They don't have an Oregon and an Indiana on the schedule the way that they did last year. But sometimes Michigan just does better when its back is against the wall. Now, the Wolverines are going to have their back against the wall to some degree just by virtue of playing the USC offense. That's the big matchup here, is the USC offense versus the Michigan defense. It's strength against strength. So that's good. Except for it didn't work out that much with Oklahoma. But then Oklahoma ended up being stronger defensively, particularly against the run, than what we thought, right? I'm going to agree with a lot. Well, actually, let me backtrack. I was about to switch sides of the ball, which I did not need or want to do there. I just think that there's a lot riding on getting to Jayden Maiava, but you have to get him down because, as Lou Esposito said, Connor kind of, and Jack Tuttle both kind of alluded to as well, that Jayden Maiava is really good in the off schedule stuff. He's really good at throwing off of his back foot. He's very accurate. So that's going to be the big challenge. We don't know yet if Jacoby Lane is going to be available. He has been injured, but even if he is available, is he 100%? Makai Lemon is a danger man. That guy is really, really good. Having watched him against both Michigan State as well as Illinois, I mean, he is phenomenal. And Waymond something, I can never remember his last name, the running back, is also very good. Now, here's the thing. USC has not seen a defense like this at all year. Not even a little bit. With a new setup, I have my computer in front of me. So I can, if I change my mind on what I want to do, I can look things up very fast. It's very nice. So we looked at some of these things before on Wolverines Wire, and you can find that on Wolverines Wire. But like Illinois is the 96th defense in the country. Now, part of that, I'm sure, is because it's faced USC as well as Indiana. We got to be honest about these things. But their defense was very good in against Western Illinois and Western Michigan. You kind of expect that. But then against Indiana, USC, and Purdue, they kind of gave up similar marks. I mean, even in Duke too. So yeah, they've played some good offenses. So you look at that and you say, okay, that's got to be a part of it. But that's essentially the best defense they've faced. 96th. I'm sure there's one that's ahead of it. I can't remember which one. Let's see. 69th is Michigan State. So that's actually technically the best defense that they've faced is Michigan State. And Michigan State let them have 523 yards. Michigan State let Boston College have 457. But there's been more not locked down against Western Michigan. Youngstown State got almost 350 yards, and Nebraska got 261. So what's interesting is Michigan State there letting Nebraska only get half of what USC did, because like we said earlier in the week, this game has a lot of ways in which it could look like the Nebraska game. So and when I say that, I think that USC will be more consistent than Nebraska. I think Jayden Maiava at this stage is better than, I'm a little distracted. Zuri doesn't know where to go here in the room. But I think that Jayden Maiava is a little bit better than Dylan Raiola at scrambling, at accuracy, and all of these things. But even so, Michigan gave up 300 yards to Dylan Raiola. Now, a big chunk of that came on the Hail Mary. Some of that came after Michigan had gotten off the field in the Brandon Hillman penalty, all of that. So it's kind of hard to kind of be able to tell exactly what would happen if Michigan stays on its P's and Q's, which it's going to have to do in this game. It's a road game. It's not just one time zone over. It's a 5-hour flight. They're there already. They just got to be able to figure out all that stuff and be able to be solid. I am concerned about the secondary, but I think the good thing is the way the season's progressed so far is that you have some of those players, right, that like Jaden Sanders, Elijah Dotson, who got really key pivotal moments in that Nebraska game, right? Jaden Sanders, even against Oklahoma, that didn't go great, but getting that experience week over week. So now that you're back to Zeke Berry and Jair Hill, you have a little bit more depth that you can rely on as far as that is concerned. But I think the big thing is to compress the pocket more so for Jayden Maiava. Keep your edges going. Zuri's going to join the show, I think. All right, come on. For those on video, you get to see Zuri. I think that's the big thing for the front, is that compressing the pocket, as well as if you get a hand on Jayden Maiava, you got to get him down. You absolutely have to. You can't sit there and let him do whatever he wants. Now, I guess we are going to get into offense here in the next segment. So let's do that here in just a moment. But before we do, it's almost the weekend. Time to look back and crown this week's MVP on Who Delivered, powered by DoorDash. Just like you can win every Saturday with DoorDash Streaks, saving more every time you order, these players delivered when it mattered most. Let's break it down. Last week, I'm going to go with Donovan McCulley. I mean, I think he came up massive, obviously. And we've been kind of waiting to see that receiving game take off and for him to be that big play threat. So the mixture of Bryce Underwood to Donovan McCulley was potent. And he had the touchdown, his first as a Michigan Wolverine. He had his best game as a Wolverine, his second best game ever. Huge. So just like Donovan McCulley delivered for Michigan, DoorDash delivers your Saturdays. With DoorDash Streaks, you save every Saturday you order, stack it up all season, and you can save up to $250, including $100 in DoorDash credits. Order this Saturday. Keep the streak alive. Fuel your game day only with DoorDash. Terms apply. Period through November 18th. All right, we're going to continue on here in just a moment. But before we do, the NFL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love how FanDuel gives me so many ways to play. I've built parlays, tried player props, and even followed live games live lines rather, during games. It makes watching football even more exciting when you got a little something going in on the action. Whether you're a casual fan or love diving into the stats, FanDuel makes the game day experience so much better. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. All right, so let's dig into the other side of the ball because we spent so much time talking about the Michigan defense against the USC offense. Weirdly, a lot of people, I think, obviously that's where you're going to want to live when it comes to trying to figure out what this game is going to be. But it's funny because I feel like anytime that we think that, it tends to not go that way. I think back to 2019, Michigan at Penn State. And we were, it was all about, the Michigan defense is going to hold Saquon Barkley and them at bay. And maybe that was 17. That was 2017. But even the same thing in 2019. Where it's you think okay, the Michigan defense is going to do its thing. Got to, the offense is going to have to figure something out. Not that the offense was good in 2017. It wasn't. But John O'Korn was kind of dealing a little bit in that game. He really kind of played his heart out in a way that we didn't see outside of that Purdue game and then didn't really see for the rest of the year. And in 2019, the offense kind of slunk into a hole and then finally kind of came alive late and found themselves in a position to win or tie at the end and fell short. So I think sometimes when we're talking about the other side, it can end up playing a lot bigger role, the thing that we're not talking about. So the Michigan offense versus the USC defense. USC's defense is also ranked 69th, just like Michigan State. And they have faced some more potent offenses, particularly passing offenses. They have not faced anything of note when it comes to rushing defenses. So this is the first time that USC is going to be in a situation where it's going to be tested on the ground, really. So they've got the 29th rushing defense at the moment. But when you go through, you figure out that Missouri State, Georgia Southern, Purdue, Michigan State, and Illinois are all Illinois had the most success, 171 yards, averaged 4.89 yards per play, yards per carry. But that's, Michigan could live with those numbers. But when it comes to the teams that they've faced, most of them, including Illinois, are more so pass first. That is what they are known for. So that plays a big difference. Georgia Southern had some success. Michigan State had some limited success as well. And I think that this will be interesting to see how USC tries to play that, because obviously Michigan wants to run the ball. This could be the type of game where it's kind of how things were at the beginning of the JJ McCarthy era. Assuming, it could be 2023 as well, where it's we're not going to let you run. We're only going to let your quarterback, he's got to beat us. In 2022, it was oh, never mind. We got to back up. We can't bring a safety in support. We can't have a loaded box. So Blake Corum's going to get, 6, 7, 8 yards of carry because we can't get beat deep. Now, on the other end, you could say we're just going to keep loading the box and dare Bryce Underwood and trust our corners and trust our scheme. And that's probably what USC, imagine is going to do, because to me, it's not Bryce as much as it's the receivers, right? The receivers have not yes, I hope that Michigan is smart enough to say, we had big games from Donovan McCulley and Andrew Marsh, so we're just going to feed those hot hands and, sprinkle in the tight end stuff. This could be a huge tight end game, because we haven't really seen any tight end play really being lucrative in terms of the pass game since week 1 before Marlon Klein got hurt. So Marlon Klein is healthy now, he says he's 100% healthy. So if he can go out and do what he's capable of doing, and Hogan Hansen, who's probable this week, can go out and also do that, then you might have a 4-headed monster. And then Sharon Moore is teasing Jamar Browder being available this week and that he's likely to be a part of the pass game. Samaj is still going to get some. I know that that's not what a lot of you want to hear. But I know everyone looks just solely kind of at the bad, but there's been also a lot of good that he has done. I know that that's going to anger a lot of people. It's just the truth. So, I mean, you have that part. Let's stay on that for just a second. But since now that I have a computer in front of me, I can look things up really quickly without. So, I mean, Samaj, it's been a little hit or miss. He is, he's the second leading receiver with 16 catches for 187 yards. He's averaging 11.69 yards per catch. So 5 less than McCauley. He's averaging 37.4 yards per game. So, I mean, you still need that, right? Like you're not going to want to go away from that entirely. But, and, Marsh is just kind of getting going. He's averaging 22 yards a catch. So, like, sprinkling those guys in, getting, like, if you're going to do the Michigan thing of, like, we're going to have, like, 7 different guys that are going to beat you in one way or another in terms of the people who are catching the football. I mean, it's got to be the 5 I just mentioned. I think I would put Samaj on the low end just until he gets consistent, because this is a bigger game. And then from there, like the 2 tight ends, and then, a running back, and then maybe someone else, right? Like, it's hard to really quantify exactly where they can go with everything. But that's going to be, I think, a big part of the game plan. And it's going to have to be is passing the ball, because I think USC is going to do everything it can to stop the run. And then once you've passed to set up the run, like, I think that they won't necessarily pass to set up the run. I think that's just going to be a necessity. Michigan's also going to have to figure out how to score early, because this is not the type of game where you want to go down in, because USC can pile on. So you're going to need your defense to stand strong early. And if it doesn't, which it didn't against Oklahoma, it didn't against Wisconsin. And even though Michigan will say, well, Nebraska didn't score on the first drive. I mean, they cut right through that defense like a hot knife through butter. This defense stood strong at the end. So you can't really afford to do that in a game like this. Or you can afford to do it once, but you can't let them score on the next one, and you've got to start putting up points. So that's going to be, I think, a quiet thing for this game is the Michigan offense versus the defense, at least in terms of the preview, right? Everyone's going to talk about that other side. But I think that this has got to beat the Bryce Underwood game. Like, Justice Haynes is probably going to get his, but I don't think he's going to get his without Michigan doing some things. Now, I say that in a lot of ways, we look at some of these things and we say those things, and it goes a completely different way, like I said. But that's how I look at this game at this point. All right, what do I think is going to happen? Let's do that here in just a moment. But before we do, this episode is brought to you by Mazda's Moving the Game Forward. For those who believe it's not just about playing the game, it's about redefining it. There are moments that do more than put points on the board. They move crowds, they move culture, and keep moving the game forward. This week's moment that moved the game forward, I'm actually, since we talked to McCauley before, let's this time talk about Andrew Marsh. That back shoulder fade throw. I don't know if I want to call it a fade. It was kind of a line drive, but nonetheless, back shoulder goes up, gets it. That is a moment that tells you it doesn't just move that game forward. It potentially moves Michigan forward with a new starting receiver, the guy who's gained some confidence against a good defense. It's massive. And we're going to see if that pays off this week. So when you follow what moves you, the unexpected is only the beginning. And just like there's more to every highlight, there's more to a Mazda vehicle. Mazda, move and be moved. All right, this game is really difficult for me to kind of put my finger on. And I've done a very poor job of analyzing it in so many ways. Because it's just like it's one of those things where it's really difficult to really be able to tell what is actually going to happen. It's because there's just so many unknowns. And even though through 5 games each side, you feel like you have a pretty good idea. You feel like you have a pretty good handle on what these teams are, but styles make fights, and that's where it gets a little bit like, could things be a bit different than what we think? It's certainly a possible thing here. And hold on a second. I'm trying to look up something here just to be able to talk about this more in the way that I want to. Okay, this is very frustrating. Hold on a second. have to use my phone for this. So instead of using the computer. Okay, there we go. So FanDuel has USC as a 2.5 point favorite. Over under is at 56.5. I've been wrong when doing these for Wolverines Wire. This is why I wanted to look this up. I've been wrong on almost every, like I've been right on the winner every single week thus far. I said New Mexico would lose. I said Oklahoma would win. I said the rest. So I do still think that Michigan will win. But I've been wrong. I've been wrong on point spreads. I've been wrong on over-unders every single week. So I look at that 50, did I say 56.5, and I say, okay, I think that will really, I think that will easily be an over. But now that I think about it, I'm going to go under. And I'm going to do what's kind of been the Nouveau thing. I've seen so many people pick this exact final score one way or the other, whether it's USC or Michigan. I think that I have to pick Michigan to win. And I think I'm going to pick Michigan to win by the exact same score that they won by last year, 27-24. Now, in terms of how the game goes, I think that you're going to see the Michigan defense. I think that it will be a scenario where Michigan's defense holds on a little bit earlier. It'll look a lot like last year, I think, in a lot of ways. Because last year, I think we went into the game with the same idea. That was week 4 last year. It was the first real big game. Well, no, Texas was. But we went into it thinking like, okay, if Texas's offense can do that against the Michigan defense, it's going to be a bad time. I think that it's going to look similar defensively, where Michigan's defense holds them for a while and then Lincoln Riley adjusts and then they start to be able to figure some things out. The problem is I feel like Michigan's offense is also going to take some time. Right? Like, it's kind of funny how the discourse surrounding Wisconsin last week. I understand the offense was stuck in the mud. That's not new for Michigan. Like, that's actually pretty much what Michigan's been from the Jim Harbaugh era forward against Big Ten opponents, at least. I mean, even against non-Big Ten opponents, right? So it's kind of crazy that you see that, like, a lot of people just like, what? They're only up by this at halftime and getting all like upset. Like, that's generally how Michigan's operated. Close at halftime, absolute blowouts in the second half. And now it wasn't an absolute blowout against Wisconsin, but like last year, I think changed the calculus a little bit, because aside from the games they lost, I mean, some of the teams like Arkansas State, they have a big lead and then Arkansas State comes back. USC, Michigan had what felt like an insurmountable lead against a not as potent offense, and then offense got stuck in the mud in the second half, and Michigan had to come back. That kind of became the new thing in some degree. Michigan got like all of its scoring pretty much done against Ohio State early. So I think that the big thing for Michigan here is it's going to have to be to weather the storm more so in the second half, I think, for USC, because I don't think this is necessarily going to be like Wink Martindale almost feels like he's the opposite of Jesse Minter in some ways, where it's not about like, like you're going to get what you're going to get in the first half. And then the second half, good luck. I kind of feel like you Wink Martindale, and I could be very wrong. And I'm not looking at things statistically here. I'm just kind of going off of gut feeling as I'm talking here. It kind of feels like it's more of, yeah, you're gonna, we're gonna hold you for a while, and then you're gonna be able to get a little bit. And I know that's not a tried and true, right? Texas was not that way. Oregon, I mean, maybe not that way. Ohio State certainly wasn't, but like some of those games, you do see, like I said, USC last year, Arkansas State last year, Minnesota last year. I know this is a different year. They did hold Oklahoma for the most part in the second half this year. Nebraska kind of did a little bit more in the second half than they did the first. So kind of don't know what you're going to get as far as that's concerned. But I do think that you're more so going to have to weather the storm in the second half. I think you got to weather the storm with the script and then again in the second half. That's going to be what I would say has to happen there. But yeah, I've got Michigan 27-24. With that score, that would mean the under, because that would be what? 52 points. So we'll go the under, and we will go Michigan with the win. That's what we're going to do. Anyway, that's going to do it for us today. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for listening. We will be back next week. Peace.